By the age of 60, the average adult has lost over 60% of the deep sleep they enjoyed in their 20s. This is not simply about feeling tired. This is a silent neurological crisis. With every lost hour of deep sleep, the brain loses its ability to perform a critical nightly function, taking out the trash. Tonight, we reveal the science behind this deep sleep drought and provide a precise, non-pharmaceutical protocol to turn the tide, starting this evening. Sleep is not a single state of being. It is an intricate, multi-stage journey the brain must take every single night. Most people are familiar with REM, or rapid eye movement sleep, the stage associated with vivid dreaming. But REM is not the star of this story. The unsung hero of cognitive health, the phase that deteriorates most rapidly with age, is stage 3 sleep, also known as slow wave or deep sleep. During this phase, brain waves slow to a crawl, becoming long, rhythmic delta waves. Breathing and heart rate drop to their lowest levels of the night. It is in this state of profound rest that the brain's most important maintenance work is done. It is here that the glymphatic system activates. This is not a system most people have heard of. The glymphatic system is the brain's dedicated waste clearance pathway, a network of channels that piggybacks on blood vessels. During waking hours, brain cells are incredibly active, producing metabolic waste products as they fire trillions of electrical signals. One of these waste products is a protein called beta amyloid. If that name sounds familiar, it should. It is the toxic protein that clumps together to form the infamous plaques found in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. Throughout the day, this metabolic debris accumulates. The glymphatic system remains largely inactive. But during the profound quiet of deep sleep, a stunning transformation occurs. The brain cells themselves actually shrink by up to 60%, widening the space between them. This allows cerebrospinal fluid to be pumped vigorously through the brain tissue, flushing out the accumulated beta amyloid and other toxins into the bloodstream, where they can be carried away and disposed of by the liver. This is your brain taking out the trash. This is your brain's self-cleaning cycle, and it only runs efficiently during deep, slow-wave sleep. Without it, the toxins remain. Night after night, they build up, layer by layer, increasing the risk for neurodegenerative disease and contributing to the brain fog, poor memory, and low energy so many people accept as a normal part of aging. It is not normal. It is the direct result of the deep sleep drought. Now for the critical question. Why does this vital phase of sleep decline so precipitously after the age of 55? The answer is not a single culprit, but a cascade of biological changes. The primary driver is a shift in the brain's own electrical activity. The very neurons responsible for generating the powerful synchronized delta waves of deep sleep begin to lose their potency. These neurons, located deep in the prefrontal cortex, are like the conductor of an orchestra. In youth, the conductor is strong, bringing all the neuronal musicians into a powerful rhythmic harmony. As the brain ages, the conductor's signals become weaker. The orchestra is less synchronized. The resulting brain waves are shallower and less robust, often not strong enough to sustain a long period of true deep sleep. The brain is pulled back into lighter stages of sleep more easily. This is a biological reality. It is not a life sentence. As we reveal the 5-step protocol to reclaim this lost territory, it's crucial to understand a key principle. You cannot force deep sleep. You can only create the ideal conditions for it to emerge. Will you discover that a common beverage you believe is helping you relax is actually destroying your sleep architecture? We will expose that myth shortly. First, let's examine the hormonal saboteur. The second major factor is cortisol. Known as the stress hormone, cortisol follows a natural daily rhythm. It should be highest in the morning to promote wakefulness and gradually taper off throughout the day, reaching its lowest point in the evening to allow for sleep. However, modern life has broken this rhythm. Chronic stress, late-night meals, and exposure to blue light from screens all send a signal to the adrenal glands to keep pumping out cortisol long after it should have subsided. Cortisol is the biological opposite of melatonin, the hormone of sleep. They are like two children on a seesaw. When one goes up, the other must come down. A high level of cortisol in the evening actively suppresses melatonin production and prevents the brain from descending into the deep, restorative stages of sleep. Even a small, imperceptible rise in evening cortisol can be enough to keep the brain hovering in the lighter stages of sleep, stage 1 and stage 2. A person might be unconscious for 8 hours, but they are not getting the quality of sleep their brain desperately needs. They are sleeping, but their brain is not cleaning. This is why someone can sleep for a full night and still wake up feeling exhausted and mentally sluggish. Their time in bed was not time spent in restoration. The good news is, that evening cortisol is something that can be directly managed. The protocol we are about to outline has a specific component designed to lower cortisol by as much as 27% in the critical 2-hour window before bed. It requires no supplements. It requires no medication. It begins with light. For hundreds of thousands of years, human biology was synchronized with the rising and setting of the sun. The bright, blue spectrum light of midday signaled the brain to be alert and active. The dim red and orange spectrum light of sunset and firelight signaled the transition toward rest and sleep. This is not poetry. It is hardwired physiology. Specialized cells in the retina, called intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, detect the wavelength of light entering the eye. They communicate directly with the brain's master clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. Blue light, the kind that dominates our phone screens, televisions, and modern LED bulbs, tells the SCN that it is the middle of the day. This signal does two things. It directly suppresses the release of melatonin from the pineal gland, and it signals the adrenal glands to continue producing cortisol. Using a bright, cool white bathroom light while brushing your teeth, or scrolling through a phone in bed, is the equivalent of shining a midday sun directly into your brain's master clock just minutes before you want it to initiate the sleep sequence. It is a profound act of biological confusion. The first step in the deep sleep protocol, therefore, is to control your light environment with strategic precision. This is about more than just turning off the lights. It is about changing the very color of the light you are exposed to. For at least 90 minutes before your intended bedtime, all sources of blue light must be eliminated. This does not mean sitting in total darkness. It means switching to light sources that mimic a pre-industrial sunset. This can be achieved with special amber-colored light bulbs or by using night mode settings on all electronic devices, which shifts the screen's color temperature to the red end of the spectrum. This single change signals to the SCN that the day is over. It allows the cortisol seesaw to come down and the melatonin seesaw to rise naturally and powerfully. This is the foundational step upon which all other deep sleep strategies are built. But light is only the first signal. The second, equally powerful signal, is temperature. Your body's core temperature also follows a natural circadian rhythm. To initiate sleep, your core temperature needs to drop by approximately 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 1 to 1.5 degrees Celsius. This temperature drop is a powerful sleep-initiating trigger. In our modern world of centrally heated homes kept at a constant temperature, we have blunted this crucial biological signal. The body cools itself by dissipating heat through the skin, particularly the hands, feet, and face. A warm bath or shower 1 to 2 hours before bed can paradoxically help this process. The hot water draws blood to the surface of the skin. When you get out of the bath into the cooler air, the body's core temperature drops rapidly as the heat radiates away from the skin, mimicking the natural temperature drop that should happen at sunset. This sends a powerful go-to-sleep signal to the brain. The temperature of the room you sleep in is just as critical. Many people sleep in rooms that are far too warm. Studies have consistently shown that the optimal room temperature for sleep is surprisingly cool, between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 15.5 to 19.4 degrees Celsius. A cool room encourages the body to maintain its lower core temperature, allowing it to remain in the deeper, more restorative stages of sleep for longer periods. It prevents the overheating that can cause restlessness and pull the brain back into lighter sleep. We have now addressed light and temperature, the two most powerful external cues for regulating your internal clock. But there is a third, internal factor that must be managed: your evening nutrition. What you eat, and more importantly, when you eat, can either build a ramp down into deep sleep or create a wall that blocks it entirely. And the most damaging food is one most people consider a healthy evening snack. That damaging food is sugar. Not just the refined sugar in a cookie, but the natural sugar in an apple, a banana, or a glass of juice. But wait, how can that be? Isn't fruit the cornerstone of a healthy diet? This is where our modern understanding of nutrition has created a catastrophic blind spot when it comes to sleep. The problem isn't the apple itself. The problem is the timing. The problem is insulin. When you eat any carbohydrate, especially a fast-acting sugar like fructose from fruit, your body releases insulin to shuttle that sugar out of your bloodstream and into your cells. This is a normal, healthy process, except when it happens at night. You see, insulin and human growth hormone, or HGH, have an antagonistic relationship. They are like two sides of a seesaw. When one is up, the other is down. And HGH is arguably the most important repair hormone your body has. The vast majority of your daily HGH is released during the first cycle of deep sleep. It is the hormone that repairs your muscles, strengthens your bones, burns fat, and, critically, helps facilitate the maintenance and repair of your brain. By eating that healthy apple before bed, you are spiking insulin at the exact moment your brain is trying to release its most powerful restorative hormone. You are blunting the HGH pulse. You are effectively telling your body, don't repair tonight. Store energy instead. This brings us to the protocol's third step. Institute a hard stop on all food, especially carbohydrates and sugars, at least 3 hours before bed. This creates a pre-sleep fasting window. This window is not about weight loss. It is about hormonal signaling. It allows insulin levels to fall completely, giving your body a clear runway to release a powerful, unimpeded surge of HGH as soon as you enter deep sleep. But this goes even deeper. It's not just about hormones. It's about a fundamental conflict of resources. Your body can either be in rest and digest mode, or it can be in repair and clear mode. It cannot do both at peak efficiency simultaneously. Digestion is an incredibly energy-intensive process. When you go to sleep with a full stomach, a significant portion of your body's resources are diverted to your gut to break down that food. That is energy that is not available for the most critical task of the night: cleaning your brain. Remember the glymphatic system? The brain's waste clearance system that only activates during deep sleep? That system is not a passive trickle. It is an active, energy-demanding power wash. It requires blood flow and metabolic resources. By eating before bed, you are forcing your brain to compete with your stomach for the energy it needs to clean house. It's like trying to run a city's street sweepers and garbage collection services while simultaneously hosting a massive, resource-draining parade. The parade always wins. This is why the timing of your last meal is a non-negotiable pillar of deep sleep. Light, temperature, and food timing. These three pillars create the external and internal environment necessary for deep sleep to occur. They synchronize your biology. They lower cortisol, allow melatonin to rise, and clear the hormonal runway for HGH. But what if you do all of this perfectly, and you still lie in bed, your body ready for sleep, but your mind is running a marathon? This is the final battleground. The internal landscape. We've managed the body's chemistry, but now we must manage the mind's electricity. The problem is a state of the brain known as hyperarousal. It is the feeling of being tired, but wired. Your body is exhausted, but your brain is scanning for threats, replaying conversations, and building anxiety-fueled narratives about the future. This mental noise isn't just an annoyance. It is a physiological state. It keeps your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response, switched on. This state is the polar opposite of the parasympathetic rest and digest, and more importantly, rest and repair state required for sleep. So how do you turn it off? How do you quiet a mind that refuses to be silent? Many people try meditation or mindfulness, and for some, it works. But for the chronically sleep-deprived, the instruction to simply watch your thoughts can feel like being told to watch a house fire without calling the fire department. The thoughts themselves feel too threatening, too real. The protocol for this requires a different approach. It is not about silencing the mind, but about giving it a specific, non-threatening job to do. We call it a cognitive shuffle. But this technique isn't some modern sleep hack. It has a much darker origin, adapted from a declassified military protocol originally designed for a terrifying purpose: memory suppression. What if the key to falling asleep isn't just about forgetting your day, but about strategically overwriting it? The original research wasn't about helping soldiers sleep. It was about preventing them from remembering. Imagine an operative captured behind enemy lines. The information they've gathered in the last 24 hours is critical. Standard procedure is to resist interrogation, but under duress, memories can be extracted. So, military psychologists asked a radical question. What if we could stop those recent, fragile memories from ever hardening into long-term storage? What if we could induce a state of targeted, temporary amnesia on demand? They discovered that the brain's process for encoding memory, moving it from a fragile, short-term state to a stable, long-term one, relies on narrative. On story. Your brain links cause and effect, sights and sounds, emotions and events, into a coherent sequence. It's this web of connections that makes a memory stick. To disrupt the memory, you didn't need a drug or a complex machine. You just had to disrupt the story. You had to feed the brain a stream of information so random, so semantically disconnected, that it couldn't build a narrative web. The brain, faced with this onslaught of meaningless data, essentially gives up trying to encode. It gets bored. It gets confused. And in that confusion, the high alert state required for memory formation dissipates. The critical intelligence the operative learned just hours before fades like a dream upon waking. They couldn't recall what they couldn't encode. But what does this grim psychological tool have to do with you? Lying in bed at 2 a.m., your mind racing. Everything. Because that late night anxiety, that hyperarousal, is your brain's storytelling machine stuck in overdrive. It's taking a stray worry and building a catastrophic narrative around it. It's taking an awkward conversation from yesterday and writing 1,000 sequels. This is the exact state of heightened, narrative-driven alertness the military protocol was designed to dismantle. The technique, adapted for sleep, is elegantly simple. It's not about emptying your mind. It's about cluttering it with nonsense. Here is how you do it. As you lie in bed, you choose a single, emotionally neutral word. A word with no strong personal attachments. Let's say the word is building. The word itself doesn't matter. Now, you don't visualize a building. Instead, you take the first letter, B, and you begin to calmly and slowly bring to mind other words that start with B, visualizing each one for just a second or two before moving on. Banana, boat, book, ball, bridge. You do this until you run out of B words. Then you move to the next letter. U, umbrella, uncle, utensil. The key here is what you are not doing. You are not creating a story. You are not picturing your uncle using an umbrella while holding a utensil. You are just seeing the objects. Random, disconnected, meaningless. You are deliberately inducing a state of mild, pleasant, semantic chaos. This act is a form of cognitive misdirection. It engages the language and visualization centers of your prefrontal cortex, the logical, thinking part of your brain. And that engagement requires cognitive resources. Resources that are being pulled directly from the amygdala, the emotional fear center of your brain that is fueling your anxiety. You are starving the fire of your anxiety. You are giving your racing mind a boring, pointless, and deceptively demanding job. It's a job that is just engaging enough to hold its attention, but so nonsensical that it cannot build a narrative. It cannot fuel worry. And in the absence of that fuel, the sympathetic fight or flight nervous system begins to power down. The mental state required for sleep isn't stillness, it's boredom. The cognitive shuffle is a systematic protocol for inducing profound cognitive boredom. But the mechanism goes even deeper than simply distracting you from your worries. It taps into the fundamental architecture of how your brain prepares for sleep. One of the primary jobs of deep sleep is a process called memory consolidation. Throughout your day, your hippocampus acts as a temporary inbox for memories. It's a limited capacity buffer. When you sleep, your brain gets to work sorting through that inbox. It decides what's important enough to keep, strengthens those neural connections, and transfers the memories to the neocortex for long-term storage. This process clears the hippocampus, making it ready for the next day. Hyperarousal, that tired but wired feeling, is what happens when this transfer process is jammed. Your brain is stuck in collection mode. It's endlessly replaying the day's events, the worries, the unresolved problems. The inbox is full, and the transfer button hasn't been pushed. Your mind is literally telling you, I can't rest yet. I still have to process all of this. The cognitive shuffle acts as a manual override. By feeding it a stream of meaningless, non-narrative information, you are sending a powerful signal to your brain's operating system. The important data collection for the day is over. There is nothing left to process. You can begin the nightly maintenance sequence. It's like closing all the open programs on a computer before you shut it down. The random words are the final, empty files that tell the hippocampus its work is done. It can release its grip on the day's events and allow the brain to transition into the deep, restorative stages of sleep. Light, temperature, meal timing, and the cognitive shuffle. These four pillars address the external environment, the internal hormonal milieu, and the brain's electrical state. For the vast majority of people, mastering these four pillars is enough to reclaim their nights and transform their days. But what if it's not? What if you've done everything right? You've quieted your mind, balanced your hormones, perfected your environment, but your body refuses to get the message. You feel a deep, vibrating tension in your muscles, a knot in your stomach, a tightness in your chest. Your mind might be quiet, but your body is still screaming threat. Why? This isn't a failure of psychology. It's a failure of physiology. The answer lies in the longest and most complex nerve in your body. A nerve that acts as a superhighway of information, constantly sending signals from your gut, your heart, and your lungs back up to your brain. It's called the vagus nerve. And for many of us, It has been hijacked. Modern life, with its chronic, low-grade stress, has trained this nerve to send a constant, unending stream of alarm signals to the brain. Your brain might be trying to wind down, but your body is still in a state of siege. Your gut is tense, your heart rate is elevated, your breathing is shallow, and the vagus nerve dutifully reports this physical state of panic back to the brain, overriding your conscious attempts to relax. This creates a terrifying feedback loop. The brain senses the body's tension, interprets it as a threat, which then creates more physical tension. How do you break this loop? How do you calm a body that has forgotten what safety feels like? Telling it to just relax is useless. You cannot think your way out of a physiological state. You must speak to the body in its own language, the language of breath, the language of pressure. This brings us to the fifth and final pillar of the protocol. A series of techniques designed to manually reset the vagus nerve and signal profound safety directly to your nervous system. Forget sleep. This is about rebooting your entire biology. The first of these techniques is the simplest and most powerful autonomic reset known to science: the physiological sigh. It's an involuntary breathing pattern we all use to offload stress during sleep or moments of intense emotion. But you can trigger it consciously. Right now, wherever you are, take 2 sharp consecutive inhalations through your nose, and then a long, slow, complete exhale through your mouth. That's it. The double inhale pops open those collapsed alveoli, maximizing the surface area for gas exchange. The long, slow exhale then offloads the maximum amount of carbon dioxide, which is a primary chemical trigger for anxiety. You are manually telling your body's alarm system that the danger has passed. 2 or 3 of these sighs can do more to calm your physiology than 10 minutes of forced, positive thinking. Next, we use the language of pressure. Your nervous system evolved to understand that gentle, sustained pressure means safety. It means being held. It means you are not alone. You don't need a weighted blanket to achieve this. Simply place your hands on your body and apply a gentle, firm pressure. Feel the warmth. Feel the weight. As you perform the physiological sigh, focus on the physical sensation of your hands. This combination of breath and pressure sends a powerful, 2-pronged signal of safety directly to your brainstem, bypassing the anxious chatter of your conscious mind. It is a primal message that your body understands instantly. You are secure. You can stand down. Finally, we speak to the vagus nerve directly using vibration. The nerve passes right alongside your vocal cords. By creating a deep, resonant sound, you can physically massage and tone this nerve, like tuning a guitar string. On your next long exhale, simply hum a deep, low-frequency sound. Feel the vibration in your chest and throat. This isn't about meditation, it's about mechanics. The vibrations are a direct, physical stimulus to the vagus nerve, activating your body's innate relaxation response and completing the circuit of calm. Breath, pressure, and vibration. These aren't tricks. They are the user interface for your autonomic nervous system. These 5 pillars: light, temperature, meal timing, the cognitive shuffle, and the vagal reset, are your owner's manual for sleep. They provide the complete protocol for guiding your biology, from your environment to your very cells, into a state of profound rest. This isn't about forcing sleep. It's about creating the conditions, external and internal, where sleep becomes the inevitable, natural consequence. It's about ending the war with your own body and finally remembering what it feels like to be safe in your own skin. To master your sleep is to master your life. It is the foundation upon which your energy, your mood, your health, and your happiness are built. It is the quiet, nightly miracle that allows you to show up as the best version of yourself, day after day. This isn't just about how to be healthy. This is about how to be human. This is just one chapter in the operating manual for your body. There are countless other systems to understand, optimize, and master. If you are ready to continue this journey, to look under the hood and learn the science of living a better life, then join us. Subscribe to how_to_be_healthy, and let's build a healthier world together.